Hello to all our dear followers, and welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars. It's always a pleasure to have you here, tuning in, leaning closer, curious eyes on the screen, ready for a story that has kept the whole scene whispering. Today, we're opening a chapter that many of you have asked about, a chapter filled with adrenaline, doubt, heartbreak, and the kind of tension that turns a private crack into a very public earthquake. As the title suggests, we're diving into a night that rattled a relationship, a moment of jealousy spiraling beyond control, a scene so intense that even those who think they've seen everything paused and held their breath. If you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe to Whispers of Turkish Stars and hit the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the stories that define the lives behind the spotlight. We're here to make you think, to make you feel, and to keep the conversation alive. Let's get to it. The headline is not soft, we know. Uncontrolled jealousy. Cemre Arda's explosive outburst toward Gökberk Yildirim. You won't believe how the night unfolded. And yes, the reality lives up to the tension this description ignites. We're going to walk through the moments with care and context, feel the energy in the room, understand the why as much as the what, and try to see the people behind the spectacle. Because sometimes life refuses to behave like a carefully written script, sometimes it throws fire at two people who are already holding a match. Before we go further, one thing is crucial: while we are discussing a reported confrontation and the emotional storm surrounding it, we do not condone violence in any form. Our goal is to examine the dynamics and the consequences, to understand without excusing, to see the human vulnerabilities without endorsing harmful behavior. These moments demand clarity and compassion, not sensationalism for its own sake. Who are we talking about? For those who might be newer to the scene, Cemre Arda is a magnetic presence in the entertainment world, a woman whose camera-ready poise and sharp instincts have earned her a loyal following. She's polished in public, expressive in her craft, and often read as intense beneath the glamour. By her side, at least until this incident, has been the charismatic and widely admired actor, Gökberk Yildirim. He's bright in interviews and steady on sets, usually the calming counterpoint to Cemre's quicksilver energy. Together, they've been a pair that blends chemistry with ambition, private tenderness with public glare. And like many couples living under the microscope, they've had their normal stumbles. But never, until now, had anything risen to the level the world witnessed that night. Jealousy is one of those emotions that masquerades as clarity and burns like a fever. It feeds on shadows and half-truths, it expands in the silence between people, and when mixed with fear, it can twist the simplest glance into a threat. In this case, sources say that Cemre's jealousy found fuel, lit a fuse, and surged past any line she might once have drawn for herself. What we've heard, and what multiple eyewitness accounts suggest, is that everything boiled over at a high-profile event, the kind of evening where smiles shine, cameras flash, and reputations move by inches. Picture it. A venue dressed for spectacle. Music tuned to just the right tempo. Colleagues, friends, rivals, everyone breathing the same curated air. And somewhere within that glittering frame, a conversation, a look, a laugh held too long or read the wrong way. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was something. Maybe it was exactly the kind of ambiguous moment that becomes dangerous when it lands on raw nerves. What is clear is that an argument began quietly, then sharpened, then rose, cutting into the curated hum of the night until it was no longer a private matter. Voices lifted. Eyes turned. Protocol dissolved. And then, by several accounts and clips circulating online, the line everyone hopes never to cross was crossed. What did Cemre hear that set her off? What did she believe she saw in Gökberk's manner or in the person beside him? Was it a rumor already lodged in her mind, waiting for proof in a misunderstood smile? Or did a previous wound resurface and color everything in the moment? We might never know the full truth. Only the two of them can trace the precise steps of that escalation. But the reports converge on a distressing point, that Cemre lost control, that the confrontation which began with accusations and a raised voice spilled into physical aggression, leaving Gökberk exposed to a kind of humiliation no one deserves, especially not at the hands of someone they love. Those who were there described shouts that broke across the room and froze the flow of the evening. They describe a public challenge, a rush of emotion that leapt past boundary and consequence. And then, the part that aches to repeat, the alleged shoves, the striking movement of a person whose composure cracked under heat. It wasn't a spat that could be smoothed over with an apology the next morning. It was the kind of rupture that lives on in pixels in memory, the kind that rehearses itself during sleepless nights. Imagine being in Gökberk's position, stunned under the sudden weight of it, unable to rewind the moment or pull a curtain between your pain and the people watching. Physical discomfort heals with time, but the emotional blow, the shock of betrayal under bright lights and open eyes, lingers like a second skin. Were there earlier signs? Some suggest that tension had been building for weeks. Subtle flares of suspicion. Online chatter linking Gökberk to someone he was photographed beside. A persistent whisper that he was getting too close to a new collaborator. Nothing definitive, perhaps. Nothing proven. But jealousy rarely waits for proof. It thrives on probability, on what could be rather than what is. And under relentless attention, the mind can become its own worst storyteller. Every smile, every gentle touch on an arm during a conversation, every pause can be recast as evidence if you're already burning to find it. Let's talk about pressure. The public lives of Cemre and Gökberk exist inside a hall of mirrors. Every moment echoes back in commentary, filtered through admiration, envy, and projection. It takes courage to love steadily inside that echo chamber, and even more courage to admit when fear is winning. If Cemre had been wrestling quietly with insecurities, if the drum of speculation online had gotten too loud, if a past hurt had never been fully addressed, that glamorous event might have been the worst place for a fragile heart. In that setting, a flash of perceived disloyalty can feel like a verdict, and anger can masquerade as self-defense. But consequences, once unleashed, have their own logic. For Gökberk, there is the immediate aftermath, the sting, the disbelief, the way a familiar face can suddenly feel foreign and unsafe. There may be lingering bruises. There will almost certainly be deeper ones, the kind that do not photograph easily. Trust once fractured does not reappear by morning. It must be rebuilt, if it can be rebuilt at all, with patience and brutal honesty. For Cemre, the repercussions are complex. A single public outburst can pierce a reputation her team spent years refining. Brands reconsider. Scripts waver. Friends advise distance. Fans split into camps. A moment of lost control becomes the story, and the person becomes a headline. And what of them as a couple? After a fissure like this, can the ground be made solid again? Is forgiveness an act of wisdom or an invitation to repeat the same circle? The answers depend on what comes next. On whether the apology is real, whether accountability is complete and unflinching, whether both embrace the work of understanding the sparks that ignited this blaze. Therapy is not a surrender, it is a tool. Communication is not a concession, it is a lifeline. If they choose to try again, they will need all of that and more. If they choose to walk away, they will still need healing, because endings carry their own storms. There are lessons here for anyone watching. Jealousy does not vanish when ignored. It grows in silence, and when it grows, it seeks proof that often isn't there. The way through is light, naming the fear, sharing the story you're telling yourself, inviting your partner to help rewrite it with facts and tenderness. It is not about choking down emotion, it is about giving it a shape that won't cut you or the person beside you. And when emotions are bigger than your tools, reaching out for professional help is not weakness. It is a courageous admission that love deserves better than guesswork and unspoken dread. Violence is never a solution. It does not clarify. It does not protect. It is a flare that blinds everyone, leaving only wreckage to sift through afterward. If what happened between Cemre and Gökberk is as reported, then it is a warning bell ringing loud enough for all of us to hear. Because if such an admired couple can trip over the same human wires that lie across every relationship, then none of us are immune. But we are not helpless. Boundaries, empathy, and slow, honest conversations can transform fear into understanding. We hope this careful walk through the night in question has given you a fuller picture, the context, the possible triggers, the silent prelude that might have set the stage, and the storm that followed. It is a sad story, yes, but also a mirror. It reflects the fragility of trust, the cost of pride, and the urgency of learning how to sit with difficult feelings before they choose our actions for us. Whether Cemre and Gökberk decide to rebuild or depart, we hope they surround themselves with wisdom and compassion, that they protect their well-being ahead of public appetite, and that healing is prioritized over theater. As always, we want to hear from you. What do you think lives under jealousy when the lights are bright and the crowd is loud? Do you believe that a couple can recover from a public rupture like this if there is accountability and change? What steps would you recommend for two people trying to reclaim trust after such an explosive scene? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective is what makes Whispers of Turkish Stars a true community, not just a channel. Before we go, if this video made you reflect, if it shed light on something you felt in your own life, or if it simply kept you captivated from beginning to end, please like this video. Your support allows us to keep creating content that cuts through noise and touches the heart of the matter. Share this with someone you think might learn from it, or with a friend who follows the journeys of Cemre Arda and Gökberk Yildirim closely. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to Whispers of Turkish Stars and turn on notifications. We have more stories coming, some gentle, some fierce, all honest. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.